Alright, good morning. So this is going to be a busy few days. So remember, quite a few episodes back, I'd say about a month and a half ago, we flushed this truck with coolant flush and changed the oil cooler on it and yada 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 because it was dirty. So we're back in that situation. The oil cooler is plugged up again. So kind of a backstory on this truck, right? Just to kind of give a good explanation. This truck, we did buy this truck broken, right? So the turbos were shot out of it. It was ran low on oil. It was really close to spinning a main bearing, which I found out after I pulled it apart. Thank God we did overhaul it, right? We bought the truck for a very cheap price. And I mean a deal way too good. Especially for what the truck is, right? I mean, the body's super straight, paint's good, the interior's immaculate. It's a King Ranch, yada, yada, yada. So, good deal, we bought it. Body mounts were all shot, the radiator was cracked, so it was leaking. The turbos were bad. I think that's why they ended up selling the turbos are bad. They just probably couldn't afford to fix it anymore, which I get. Hey, man, it happens, right? Front end needed the front end overhaul completely. It was worn smooth out, bad. So we bought the truck good price, right? So we pulled the motor out, we overhauled the motor, we put new turbos on it. It now has a new injection pump. It needs, the only thing that's stock on this truck that came with the truck from the factory is the injectors that are in it. They're still working fine, so we're leaving them alone for now. We completely overhauled the motor. It's a stage 1 build. This truck's a daily driver. It was a gift to my old man, which I got him for Christmas because, you know, when your parents are good to you should be good to them, right? So after this truck is that, the truck before this was really a gift, I guess. We had a 07 King Ranch, same color and stuff, but we sold it to pay for this one. But did all that to it, put new mounts on it, got a brand new radiator in here, new turbos, like I say. But with the radiator being cracked, I'm pretty sure they ran water in it for quite a while. I don't know how long. I don't really know the history of it, but they ran it like that for a long time. So everything was, the heater core was completely plug solid of rust particulate. You couldn't even get flow through it, so we didn't start having problems with the oil cooler until I unplugged the heater core. So we're going to flush the living shit out of everything today. That is the plan. We're going to put a new oil cooler in. That's going to happen. I got a new degas bottle here too. We'll be getting a new degas bottle because I know that one's dirty, and since it's a channeled bottle, it's hard to get all the rust out of it. So it'll get a new degas bottle. We're going to pull everything back out. We're going to reseal the joint gasket for the turbo, so the compression ring and the braided ring will be getting replaced. And of course, a new oil cooler will be installed. We're going to flush the hell out of everything. We've already flushed. We ran coolant flush in this truck 2 different times. One time we ran for 4 days straight, and then he dropped it, flushed it, and then this time was ran for 3 days. So I'm going to flush everything again. I'm going to pull some hoses off. I'm going to get some O-rings for the radiator hoses. So we're going to flush the hell out of everything again, just to be safe. Probably going to try to pull the drain plug off the side of the block over here. I cannot pull the one on the starter because I don't feel like pulling the starter out, but I'm going to try to get as much stuff out as we can. So we'll make sure it's good and clean because I do not want to do this again. If this oil cooler plugs up again, we will be buying the bulletproof diesel relocation kit for it. We're located underneath the hydro boost. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to be working on this today. We're going to be pulling the ECM off of this truck today. We're going to try to get this truck buttoned up today. That's going to be the plan here. So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're after. We should be able, I was given a file to try to save the ECM on that truck. I don't think it's fried. It really shouldn't be, but we're going to try to save that one. We're going to pull the computer off of this truck, get the right one coming, and then we're going to fix this one. So that's our plan. And after all this is done, once this truck's together, then we get to pull the red 6.4 back apart. I'm going to explain what we're going to do about that. So without further ado, let's dive into this thing. Start getting it flush, getting the move. He did pull the ranch hand off for me. Thank you for that, because it's a lot easier to get the topside creeper closer to pull them turbos off, because them things are 90 pounds damn near. I think they're 84 pounds together, and getting those up and out, it hurts. You got to be strong, you got to be tough, right? But now they're just heavy. They're heavy and they're very awkward to handle, so it makes it easier if I don't have to reach too far out. Less strain on my back. That's what we're going to do. That's the plan. We got a lot to do today. Will we get this truck done today? I don't know. Hopefully. We'll see. If not, it'll be damn near back together. That's what we're going to do. So that's the plan. Quite a bit to do, quite a bit to get after. And Well, let's get after it. Alright, so here's the 6.4. It's already torn down. I know I didn't show any footage of me flushing it, so just to kind of give you a break of what I did, I pulled this hose and this hose off. I flushed backwards and forwards through this hose, flushed through this hose, I flushed through the heater core to push all the gooey stuff out. The degas bottles, of course, is gone. I have the hose off over here. I flushed again through there. I flushed through here. I pulled the upper hose off. I flushed through the radiator. Disconnected the two-piece bottom hoses. Those have been flushed. I flushed through the radiator. Like I said, I pulled the thermostats. I flushed through the time case. I flushed up the thermostat housing. I flushed all that stuff out, just to kind of show you what's in the cooler. Maybe some of it did come out. Freaking bug. I'll get a flashlight here. Well, you see, like, there's a piece of it there. There's like stuff. Look at. I don't know if you can see inside of that cooler, but it is funky up in there. Very, very dirty. Obviously, nothing we can do as far as cleaning it. I could back flush the cooler as it is, put it back on there. But we go through all this much work. We're putting a new cooler in this truck. So it's going to get a new one, waiting on the new one to get here. I'll probably go ahead and separate those. I need to go ahead and reseal those, so we'll do that. I guess I might as well go ahead and do that now, honestly. Yeah. So we'll reseal those. I got the K16 pump. I'm trying to seal this thing. Hit the that bug. There he is. Hang on. Let's get you out of here. He's been flying on me like all over the place. This is an old K16 pump. This is going to be the core I'm sending in. I already pulled the gear off of it. This sensor's probably good. This pressure valve, which they call, it's kind of an assumption. Apparently I might be getting in the K16 overhauling business here for too long, because now that I have found, I've been able to find vendors for the sensors, which they're across. They're not even in the United States, of course. I think one's in Turkey, and the other one I think is, is it Germany, I think? Across the bay. But, of course, this sensor, this is the one that actually came out of the red truck originally. This one is fried. I think this volume, I think the metering valve is good. So they call this a volume valve, they call this a metering valve. It's a terminology of which I know and how these fuel systems operate, especially even in the newer common rail trucks like the 6.7 Power Stroke is a prime example. This is just a pressure regulator valve, an IPR, so injection pressure regulator. All its sole purpose in life is to pressure regulate on the rail or fuel being delivered to the rail. Now this communicates directly with the ECM. The ECM communicates directly with the fuel rail pressure sensor, which is located on the passenger rail on the 6.4 Power Stroke. This is what you call a volume valve. They call it a metering valve. This is a volume valve to what I call, or what my knowledge is, right? If you view it differently, that's cool. That's the way I see it. So what this valve does is this regulates the amount of excess fuel in and out. So these two stems here, the pump sits just like this in the truck, right? So this is like the front of the truck is the camera, the back of the truck is what it's sitting on. So your fuel comes in here from the fuel filter. Your excess fuel diverts out of here. It'll go either to the fuel cooler or back directly to the fuel housing. So it's got a split stream there. So this metering valve is what I would refer to as a volume valve, is what controls the excess fuel volume. So if the truck knows that it's idling, and I don't remember what the exact fuel flow of the factory system on these trucks, I know it's 3 to 6 pounds on the low pressure system, but it's a high flow volume. So as these pumps, as anybody knows, again, as I said before, this is the highest flowing high pressure fuel pump in a light duty truck today from a factory standpoint. This flows 240 liters of fuel an hour at 24,600 pounds, okay? That is the maximum pressure this pump will produce. Again, the CP3 can go to 28, a CP4 goes, I think, 34,000. That is, why these trucks also are a little bit dirtier, because it's a lower pressure fuel system. It doesn't atomize as well as, say, 34K. So, nevertheless, they flow a shit ton of fuel, and with the injectors in these trucks, the Penzo, which is a 7-cycle fire, they can really throw some fuel down, which, you combine that with the factory compound turbo, and you have a truck that can produce 660 horsepower to the floor in a factory setup before you do anything else. It's just tuning. That's why the 6.4 is still king of the horsepower range to this day currently, compared to an L5P 6.7 Power Stroke or even 6.7 Cummins. So again, I say that I am a die-hard Cummins guy, so I mean, just keep that in mind. It's okay to admit something's better, right? But so this volume valve, if the truck knows it's idling, a lot of the excess fuel, it's not going to use all the fuel volume that's being produced from the low pressure fuel pump that's mounted on the rail. So it'll divert this fuel back out this nipple here, which will go either to the cooler or to the fuel filter housing. And then, of course, there's a little pressure regulator in there that will also either send it back to the pump or divert it back to the fuel tank, and then repeat the cycle of life of fuel flow. So there's also, which I could have let this cover off. You got to pull this cover off to get this out, but there's also a pump back here. So it's kind of like a little, like almost like a vacuum pump, right? So as your pump spins off the main shaft there, which is driven by that gear, which is driven off the cam gear, driven by the crank. there's little fingers in here, and they run against the wall, and they build up fuel pressure. So as the low pressure pump feeds it at 3 to 6 pounds, and through here it goes into this pump cavity here, which then, as the truck is spinning, will then pressurize it and feed it towards the pump. So, which it'll go into, I would assume. Again, I haven't tore one of these completely apart yet, but I would assume it goes ping, bing, bing. So it's going to be a stage up. So it'll go here, compress further, and compress to the final stage before exiting either one of the high pressure exit ports, which will then feed the high pressure rails. This sensor here will regulate that. So what this sensor says, hey, this is a positive displacement pump, right? So it's not a variable pump. It's going to spin whatever this motor's spinning, which will generate whatever it's going to generate. So this sensor here will control the pressure, which is why they call it a volume sensor. So it's going to control the pressure by controlling the volume to the fuel pressure rail. So if we need more pressure, it'll close off on the valve, which will allow more volume towards the rail, which again, positive displacement pump will then kind of essentially deadhead the pump, forcing the pressure to come up. Again, also delivering more volume depending on the need, and less is less, because this pump can generate 24,000 pounds at idle, but the truck doesn't need 24,000 pounds at idle. It only needs about 5,200, 5,300 or so. So less than 6,000, 5 to 6,000 pounds. Especially the AC's running, there's a lot of variables there, alternator load, yada, 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 all that bullshit. So that's why they call it a volume valve. To keep it as simple as possible, this is a pressure valve. This is a volume valve. So they call it a metering valve. It meters the amount of excess fuel. So essentially all it's going to do is say, hey, the computer says we're only using this amount of fuel. These are all magnet driven, by the way. There's a little magnet here that moves up and down. Same way as like an IPR on a 6.0 or 7.3. It'll move up and down, therefore releasing more fuel back and whatnot. So this valve, when this valve opens up, it'll bleed off into the low pressure side of the pump, which will go back to this pump cavity, and this valve controls the low pressure cavity out to the low pressure fuel system. So that's kind of how that works. Again, it's just pistons in here that drive. It's a positive displacement pump. It just presses. It'll feed over, presses, feed over, presses, feed out. CP3 is a 3-piston pump as well. CP4 is a 2-piston pump. That is why CP4s fail a lot as well. Not only because it's an aluminum pump with metal pistons, but since it's a 2-piston pump, it has to drive the pump a lot harder mechanically to achieve what its goal is, right? It generates 34,000 pounds. With 2 pistons, that's driving the shit out of them pistons. Where this one does not. This pump does it with 3, and it's also a lot bigger too, right? This thing here is like staying there 20 pounds or so. It's a pretty dense piece of iron. That's all it is, though. There's not a whole lot to these pumps. I know people think that a high pressure fuel pump is like a freaking piece of space technology. It's not. It's really, really, really. If you know anything about how pumps work, particularly positive displacement pumps, these are super easy to understand. They're real basic, real basic. So that's what it is, though. Again, I'm probably getting in the business of these because I'm just disappointed with manufacturers of these trucks. Again, with this truck alone, we had to pull the pump 3 times, I think. The factory pump failed, and the second one, yes, 3 times. All because most manufacturers, when they overhaul these pumps, they don't replace these sensors. So these sensors benched good, then they send them out the door. Well, this truck, the sensors would do great when the truck was cold. Nothing was wrong. Drive it around, beat on it, it's great. The second it gets to operating temperature for a little while, the magnet gets weak, sensor fails. The pressure valve in his truck failed. The pressure valve in my truck failed, and it has now failed again. And I think the metering valves took a shit too, so that's pretty cool. And it failed so much it completely lost connection. The magnet completely dropped out of it. Now it works fine, so you can drive the truck now just fine. Nothing's wrong. So explain that. But a lot of people have this issue. This isn't just me. You go on the forums, people buy. And this is, and we use a Motorcraft Reman, which is not built by it's I can't remember the name of the company now. Some engine building company, but it's a Ford stamped Reman pump. Junk. I'm going to put the same pump in my truck. Or it should be on the way here, but I'm putting new sensors in. I got a brand new metering valve. I got a brand new pressure valve. The pressure valve should be here around 1:30 within a couple hours. So that's what we're going to try. That's what we're going to do. So at least the pump will be new. But that's what we're doing. So it'll work just fine, right? So that's kind of what business I'm going to get into, right? We're going to start rebuilding these pumps for myself because apparently nobody else has good quality in doing them. You got to take pride, I guess. But we're going to clean it up. We're going to waiting on the new oil cooler. I'm going to go ahead and separate this turbo case. We're going to reseal that joint. And then I think that's really going to be it. So that's just kind of want to give you all an update where we're at. We pulled the ECM off that truck. We got the other Dodge computer figured out. It's parked over there. So that's where we're at. That's what we're going to do. So yeah, kind of cool. Want to let y'all know what was up. But yeah, that's how K16 works. It's a lot of, maybe a lot of information for some people. I don't know. Honestly, I don't think they're that complicated. But some people they are. No big deal. They say these aren't serviceable. You can service these yourself. I don't know why they say that. But whatever. So, waiting on parts. Let's keep waiting. Alright, so Black Power Stroke's running again. We pulled old Red up here because her debut is now. So we'll be pulling this one apart again. to put the new high pressure fuel pump in, which I didn't show. It is here. I don't know if I did show it, maybe I did. So this is the new pump. I gotta put the sensors in. I already got my new sensors here, so we'll get those on, put our new metering valve on. Just letting this truck sit here and idle. Warm itself up a little bit while I get everything mixed in. I'll go drive it here in a second. Get it cleaned up, a little dirty to be sitting in the truck is nice. But slowly warming up. Oil temp's up there, coolant temp. Let's see what she does. Truck's currently got 250 on the clock. Get the AC running to help load the motor up. And then, like I say, we're not going to tear in this one right now. I'm just pulling it up. So we're going to tear into this tomorrow. I just wanted to show it right there. Lock it up. I'll just finish putting everything up. I got to charge that sucker. That's going to be it though for the video. The die just came to pick the Dodge up, so it's done and gone. BCM's on the way for this one, so there's really nothing I can do for it. She's just dead. This one's going to get some love. That one got the love. And then we got to pull the motor up for this. A little bit of work coming up, so that's good. Or something. A little bit of something, and I'm cool with it. So that's our plan, and we're sticking to it. But I'll see you on the next one. We'll be diving into the old red here. Time to give her a new, it's really in a brain. Is it a heart? It's part of the heart, I guess. I don't know what you call it. The heart's the engine, but what is the pump to the engine? I don't know. So that's it. The blood veins. How about that? A new artery. I think that sounds right. All right. I'll see you on the next one.